Perhaps you've heard about it at a school board meeting, or from friends at the gym, or even repeated 1,000,000 times a day on Fox News. But what really is this idea called critical race theory, also known as CRT? Well, I'd like to give a brief explanation about it. In this short time, we'll try and distill CRT into its basic elements. And that means we'll have to leave some parts out and gloss over others. But in 6 minutes, I'd like to show you how, if you've watched the movie Avatar, you know, the James Cameron spectacle from 2009, if you've watched that, you can very easily understand what this movement is all about. We're all busy, so I'd like to do this in just 6 minutes. In that time, I'll talk fast, but that doesn't mean putting 20 minutes of content into auction announcer speak. Actually, this takes up only 2 typed pages, even with this preamble included. I've put footnotes on screen that correspond to the notes below. So if you want to look things up afterwards, you can always do that. But all this takes is just 6 minutes of your time. 6 minutes, starting right now. So the movie Avatar is about an evil corporation that will stop at nothing to strip a planet bare of an important mineral or something. Well, it's a thing, and it's called unobtainium.
Wait, that is really stupid. Unobtainium? Really?
See, unobtainium is supposed to be a stupid name because it's what filmmakers call a MacGuffin. A MacGuffin is a plot device that Alfred Hitchcock popularized in a lot of his films, and it doesn't matter. You see, that's what a MacGuffin is. It's a thing that doesn't matter. You, the watcher, don't care about it at all. It's only something that moves the plot along. It can easily be substituted for something else without changing the story. So James Cameron named his MacGuffin the dumbest name he could think of as a wink and a nudge to the audience, because that thing doesn't really matter to the story, really. So how this MacGuffin relates to CRT? Well, to see that, we have to go all the way back to Germany in 1923, after the close of World War I. In Frankfurt, a bunch of guys came together to found a think tank of sorts called the Institute for Social Research. These guys were followers of Karl Marx. Marx believed the world was made up of 2 groups. Really, only 2 groups. He had a group called the proletariat, who were the workers. They were the ones that made all the things. They did all the work. But they were exploited by another group that Marx called the bourgeoisie. Marx saw this system as exploitative, and he believed that this stage of history would be overturned by a different one, in which there would be no ownership of anything at all. Each person, according to his ability, would give, and each person would take whatever he needed. Now, this would happen in 2 mini stages. First, governments would take ownership of all companies and property and redistribute everything equally. This is called socialism. But this stage was only supposed to be transitional. It would lead to a perfect utopia where there would be no need for a government at all. Everyone would just kind of share. This he called communism. Marx and his followers believed that once this communist revolution started, it would quickly take over the whole world. It was unstoppable. Marx famously said, "Let the ruling classes tremble at a communistic revolution. The proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains. They have a world to win. And the last capitalist we hang will be the one that sold us the rope." But as the 1920s gave way to the 30s, this isn't what happened. In Germany, many attempts at Marxist revolution gave way to Hitlerian fascism. The Institute for Social Research moved from its home base in Frankfurt to America, and it set up at Columbia University. But many of the members ended up in places like Cal State Berkeley and Washington, D.C. Now, as the members of what was now dubbed the Frankfurt School questioned why their communist revolution hadn't taken over the world, they began to come up with reasons why. In 1936, Max Horkheimer came up with something he called critical theory. Now, critical theory and its offshoots said that it wasn't just about class. It was also about power dynamics, and that capitalism uses political and social structures to keep people enslaved to its system, and that those structures have to be broken down before revolution can finally overturn them. It was still just about two groups battling it out. See, communism has to have a struggle between two groups of people for it to work. That's what it's all about. It's all about tearing down, actually. It may claim to build up and create equity, but it never does. It just replaces one group of oppressors for another group that doesn't even hide its murderous intent. The greatest killer of the 20th century wasn't Hitler with 6 million massacred Jews. It was Soviet communist leader Stalin with somewhere between 3 and 60 million. Oh, no, wait, maybe it was Chinese communist Mao with a number between 15 and 70 million. Marxism has never worked anywhere it's ever been tried. It's just left poor, starving people and lots of dead bodies. But now critical theory has a new incarnation. They've added the word race in there. Why? As I said before, it's a MacGuffin. Now, there are some people obsessed with power dynamics of race and other people who agree with things like Black Lives Matter and equality. But people behind this push know that race might be the greatest wedge to drive the American people to fight against each other and break the bonds that hold us together. This time, the two groups are white people and everyone else. America is a pretty unique place. It isn't a land formed by a common ancestry. It's a place where people of all different walks of life came together for the idea of freedom. It is formed by the proposition that all of us are created equal. Now, of course, we haven't always lived up to that promise, but we also fought a bloody civil war to bring a giant racial injustice to an end, and we've passed constitutional amendments to right other wrongs. In the words of Martin Luther King, the arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice. America isn't perfect, but it has given us blessings that no other people in the course of human history have had access to. The people pushing critical race theory are, in their own words, trained Marxists. CRT is just a MacGuffin to bring an end to this American system. They want to tear down everything this country stands for. That's why they support the communists in Cuba. That's why they constantly talk about the evils of capitalism. And that's why they say the answer to racism in America is more racism. They're trying to tear this country apart. And my 6 minutes are now up.